Hey, what is up, everyone? It's Ete with another episode of The Company Next Door. I'm excited today because my last guest was Megan with Trail Talk, who, as you've heard, was from South Jersey, and my guest today is also from South Jersey. So I got a little lucky there. It's the first time it's happening, so I'm going to put them back to back for you. But today, joining me here, visiting Park City, is Howard Mattson of Plan One Financial Group. Howard, what's up, man?
Ete, it's good to see you, brother.
It's been a minute.
It has been, yeah.
We just realized it was 2011 since last time we saw. Last time you were here.
Last time we were in town.
At the Montage.
Right.
And, some work rewards. I don't know what you want to call it in your world, but you guys were here. We were bowling.
Yes.
At the bottom of the Montage, because for those of you who haven't been to the Montage, try to get in there somehow. Just sneak in there. It's a pretty sweet place. And anyway, so he's back in town, and I heard he was coming through. Wanted to have him in his show because he's got a really cool business. He has built a great company, a very successful company. And I'm anxious to hear more about the workings of it as much as we can talk about. Now, I will get this out right up front. There are some things some details we will not be able to discuss because of the industry.
Sure.
And so we will hopefully be able to get good content, make it interesting, and keep Howard protected in the ways that he has to be.
That works. Great.
So I told him if we go anywhere we can't go, just kick me and we'll figure it out. But one thing I'm excited to learn about this business because from my opinion, actually I'll just jump in right here and then we'll backtrack. Howard, from my viewpoint and watching you and your business over the last 25 years. Yeah. And what are you, 28 years old?
I wish. I'll be 45 next month. So a little bit less than 25 years, but we're averaging up, right?
So from my perspective, I work in the service industry. It's very reliant on a lot of volume and a lot of technicians and people. And I wanted to ask you this. Is your service as reliant on that? Because it looks really simple to me, not your skill.
Sure.
But the operation of the business. Am I missing that? And is it simple at all or no?
I guess you can make anything simple if you do it long enough, right?
Yeah.
And sometimes I think when you've been doing something as long as a couple of decades, you almost seem like an overnight success, right? And so that overnight success is 25 years in the making. So is it simple? I think that, we're in a people business. Right. So the conversations that we have with folks is many times about the most important topics in their life to them. Right.
Yeah.
So if you're genuine, if you're sincere, if you're open and honest, if you treat them as you would want to be treated in that situation, then in that way it's simple. But there's all the stuff on the periphery that takes a technical expertise and
years
a bank of knowledge
and
experience that probably only time could bring, right?
Yeah. And you've got a team now.
We do.
So you said you had five or how many are on your team?
There's five of us total.
There's five in your team. How long have you always had a team for the last 25 years, or is it taking you a minute to build that up?
Oh yeah, definitely. We've brought on people as we've needed to.
Okay.
And I think that we'll continue to bring people on as we need to. At this point, with our firm. And one of the reasons why we named it what we did, and I'll kind of share that with you further. So Plan One, right? So the one side of that name, the O&A, has a very specific reason for that.
Okay.
The O is for the objective advice that we give.
Yep.
The N is because it's based on a comprehensive needs analysis. And the E is an exceptional customer service experience. So whenever we bring in a customer, we make a commitment to that customer to see them, for the lack of a better analogy, sort of like a dentist office.
Yeah.
So whenever you leave my office, you leave on an appointment to come back in a 6-month time frame. So we're always in front of those people that we've made that commitment to. So any advice that we've given them, we're accountable for because we're going to see them on a regular basis.
Because you're talking, but you're not as painful as a dentist.
No,
okay.
Hopefully not.
Maybe hopefully not.
Yeah.
But you're building relationships with clients.
Yes.
And how long do clients stay with you? Because I know, as we were talking before, I think you had over 1,000 clients.
Yeah. So we're right around 1,200 now, right?
Holy.
So obviously we would rather that a client never leaves us,
Yeah.
But you have situations where, because we're dealing with people a lot of times in the later stages of their life, they may pass, and often their kids and grandkids end up working with us as well. So, we hope clients never leave us. And I've had clients still from the day that I started my practice back in 1996 that are still with me today.
So 25 years.
Yeah.
So, which is awesome, because your E, which is exceptional customer service.
Yeah.
That's the proof right there. I mean, if you can keep a client 25 years, which is older than some of our listeners, you're doing something right.
And a lot of these people become like family. If you're in that relationship business, you can't help but love some of the people that you've known and worked with for decades, right?
Have you ever been invited to one of your clients' family event or something?
Sure.
Really?
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah. I have I have clients that do those sort of things. I have a client,
barbecue, or?
Yeah, sure. I get invited to a client's family reunion, that he does every year out by the Jersey Shore. So
down the shore.
Yeah.
Wow, that's awesome, and I love that, because it seems in 2020 the customer experience has become less and less a focal point for many businesses with automations, with bots, and all these things, which are great. But I really believe what you're saying is, at the end of it, you've got to have great relationship between the customer and the company. Now, do these 1,200 clients all have a relationship with you, or is it your team? And how do you break it out so one team member is responsible for these 400 people, or how do you work that through?
Yes. So the way that we do it in our firm, Ete, is each person on the team has a very specific, a very defined role.
Okay.
So primarily, I'm dealing with the clients that need my level of expertise and that have that I've made the commitment to continue to work with them.
Gotcha.
And then we have in our office other licensed advisors who work with other clients, and we have an administrative team there as well.
So for the most part, if I was to walk into your office, and you just got a new building.
Yep. We just bought a building.
In Deptford, or is that West Deptford?
It's in Deptford, yeah.
Deptford. It's got a lot more space than you need.
It does. So right now, we occupy the main and the upper floor, and there's actually some finished office space downstairs that, we could spread out even further, but who knows? It may get rented at some point.
Yeah. So if I was to walk into your office in Deptford right now, chances are I probably would not sit down with you unless there was a special request or we had some type of relationship. I would sit down with one of your peers.
Well, it depends. So my clients, one of the big ways that our firm has grown over the years is through the people that are satisfied with our service.
Sure.
So those people. So really the folks that come to me really come from two different places. They either come from another client whose friends or family members or colleagues are looking for the same level of attention they're getting.
Yeah.
Or they're another financial professional, maybe like an accountant or an attorney or a CPA, who sees that we have a specialty that they don't. So when those clients come to me through one of those clients that I have, then you bet it, I'm meeting with that client. I'm not turning them over to someone else. They have my attention.
Yeah, because their friend recommended them.
Absolutely.
And you got to go talk to Howard. And
I wouldn't have it any other way. Yeah.
I love it. So do you have to advertise then at this
I don't
point,
advertise,
25
no.
years? Have you ever?
We really don't. No.
Oh, man. By the way, when I said simple in the beginning, I was kind of meaning more of this type of work.
Sure.
In my industry, it's a massive effort and expense to constantly advertise.
Yeah.
So that sounds amazing.
Yeah, we don't advertise. Obviously, like other businesses where they have to have a huge inventory that's stored somewhere.
Yeah.
We're lucky enough not to have that. The strategies that we quote unquote sell are the processes that we built over that 25-year period, and it's all brain power. It's all strategy that way. Yeah.
So you've been building this, and we will go deeper into these. This is kind of my overview. You've been building this company for 25 years.
That's right.
And so today, 2020, what does your day-to-day look like?
Yeah. So my schedule personally, because I do have a family at home, is Monday through Thursday.
Big family at home.
Yeah.
You got
we have 6 kids.
Six kids now.
kids.
Yeah, that's awesome.
So my schedule personally is Monday through Thursday. And Monday through Thursday, typically my first meeting is at 10 a.m.
Okay.
Gives me a little time to prepare for those meetings. And my last meeting might start at 7 p.m. And I'm doing that Monday through Thursday. And then my commitment is to my home, to my family, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. I have zero
love
appointments
that
those
boundary
days.
setting.
Yeah.
That's actually really hard to do as an entrepreneur. What if you get a call on the weekends? I mean, are you taking it or?
My team is just great at that part of the service end of it, right? So, I mean, they know. I mean, obviously, every once in a while I have to get involved, but it's so few and far between.
Oh, that's awesome.
Because they just handle things as
so
well
your
as they
weekends are just committed to your family.
They are, absolutely.
How important is that to you? I mean, you've got 6 kids.
Yeah.
You guys, I mean, obviously that's going to help you balance your work life, but how did you get to the place where you were like, you know what, Friday's off, this is family time? Were you forced into it? Like, were you working so hard in the past and your wife's like, hey, Michelle's like, hey, you know what, we need you at home? Or was this always how you did it?
It's been this way for a few years. And I think it was a test case that we did one summer. We said, I'm not going to work any Fridays this summer. And that worked well. And just
you were the whole team.
Me.
Okay,
me alone.
gotcha.
Yeah. So and to be clear, so the office is still open Monday through Friday.
Sure, gotcha.
It's just I'm not in the office on Friday.
Okay.
And that summer, just the connection that Michelle and I had, my wife and I had, was just fantastic.
I love it.
So we made the decision to take Fridays out of the equation for business and just focus on the family.
Wow. And I bet the kids love that too. They know Friday they got dad.
I hope so. Yeah. I mean, it's great to see them. And obviously, if they've, over the 25, or it'll be 25 years in April to be exact, over those years, the way that I watched my children grow, because I was able to be there at home on those Fridays, Saturdays, and Sundays, I wouldn't trade that for the world, right? So there's no level of success that I would take to exchange that time with family. I wouldn't change that in any way.
Yeah, we need to put that on a bumper sticker right there. But no, I think that's such a hard thing as an entrepreneur, because it's fun to build something.
Sure.
And like you're saying, there is no level of success. I mean, you can have all the monetary success you want, but at the end of the day, having a happy family life and kids and a wife that can count on you and know you're there for them, not just like physically, but emotionally.
Yeah.
That's everything to me.
Sure. And I can't take all that credit, right? My team is just fantastic.
Yeah, of course.
So them being able to be there on the Fridays even when I'm not, they're due all the credit, definitely. And they're phenomenal at what they do.
Awesome, man. That's I love that. So you were born and raised in South Jersey area.
I was.
So you're like Jersey all the way.
Yeah, right.
And you don't have any intentions of leaving anytime soon.
Before all this COVID stuff started happening, I was probably traveling once a month. So I'm, I do some. I'm part of an industry coaching program. I sit on the board for a company that's out in Phoenix. We do our normal family travel. So on average, once a month, I was going somewhere.
That's awesome.
But always returning back home to South Jersey. So we moved in to the property that I live on right now back in 1979. And then I bought that property for my father. Michelle and my wife and I built a house on it in 2008. And it's our... That's
awesome. And you said you just bought the property next door.
We did.
So you've got 3 acres.
A little over 3 acres.
And it's a cool area, guys. It's just woods. That's not really a word here in Utah, but woods is like forest. It's like that's a South Jersey. There's woods everywhere. There's just a lot of trees. There's
You can be in our backyard and not see anything but our house and our pool and trees. That's it. Yeah.
That's awesome. That's awesome. So growing up, now I remember, and I don't remember all the details. Maybe you could share it with us, but I know that you had an accident.
I did, yeah.
Can we talk about that?
Sure, yeah.
That was so interesting to me.
So all throughout school, if you had asked, I'm talking about high school and grammar school, elementary school, if you had asked me what I was going to do for a living, I was either going to be an artist or a musician. They were the loves of my life.
But you decided to make money. But no, gotcha, yeah.
Yeah, and then I was 17 years old. I was driving with a friend of mine. He was in the driver's seat. I was in the passenger seat. And he was an inexperienced driver. He was actually he had a permit, so he was a novice driver, and I was actually the licensed driver in the car. And he took a turn a little too tight during sort of a treacherous turn out in the woods area of South Jersey, and he ended up hitting a car. We spun around and we hit a couple of other cars. Wow. And that night I was ejected from the vehicle. So I don't remember that day, I tell you. So
just blank
getting
out.
in the car, there's that probably in that period where you're you're in a dangerous situation, sort of parts of your brain just, I think, click off, right? Just to kind of keep your energy in the right places.
Yeah.
But I was medevac to Cooper Hospital.
Wow.
I stayed in Cooper Hospital for a month. I was actually on my way out of the hospital to go back home, and then my throat closed up. So actually, from them putting the intubation tubes in, they scarred up my throat, and I had to have an emergency surgery to take out the scar tissue. That didn't work, and they had to do it a second time. So when they sent me home with a trach.
Wow.
Yeah.
17.
So, 17, right?
So you're like a junior or something. Yeah.
Missed my senior year of high school.
Oh, wow.
Ended up going back the year after. So I had all my friends had graduated at that point. You know, it was one of those blessings in life because that's how I met my wife. And a lot of my best friends in the world came from me going back, even though all my friends had left. But long story short, when I was 20 years old, I got an accident settlement. Now, from where I grew up, sort of in the rural area of South Jersey, it wasn't very white collar. It wasn't very money oriented. It was a blue collar sort of farmy area.
Yeah.
And all my friends and family members had all these great ideas about how to spend the money that I was getting. Ideas like bet on football games, buy buildings, support my friends' music efforts, you know. And I actually thought long and hard about it and made the decision that I was going to invest every dollar. Literally at 20 years old, I didn't touch a dollar of that money that I received. And I was just so intrigued at that point about the ways that you could grow your money that I bugged the guy that I ended up investing that money with to the point where he said, Howard, if you want to know so much, come and work with me. Wow. So that's what I started doing at 20 years old. And then within 6 years, around 26, I became a partner in that firm. I was the youngest person on the team there, and you know, fell in love with the business.
Let me ask you this: so you're going, because I'm missing something here. You're going through high school, and like you said, your brain was like mine. It's all about music and art, right? That's what you want to do. And you have this accident. Fast forward 3 years, you're 20. You get a settlement, and there's just like maturity that you have somewhere gotten to invest it all. Because no 20-year-old would ever do that, right? I would have invested it in my guitar collection.
Sure. Yeah.
So did something happen? Was it related to the accident? Did you rethink the way you thought after the accident, or no?
You know,
what was the impact of that accident, I guess, on your emotional, mental state?
You know, so I love my parents, right? My parents are fantastic people. But I guess earlier on in life, I was able to notice that some of the reasons that they were in the financial situation that they were in was because of the decisions that they had made. So really what drives me even today is to help people get out of their own way financially. Yeah. Right? Because there is sort of a clear path to success. Yeah. But it's a path that's not often taken, right? Or at least there's, I think once you have that knowledge, you start down that path. But a lot of people don't gather that knowledge maybe until it's almost too late, right? Till way later in life. So, you know, and for me, music and art is still a part of my life. Sure. It doesn't have to be a business, right? Yeah, and maybe that's a little bit better that way because I get to still enjoy that, but, you know, do what I do and enjoy that as well. Wow. So you literally get a job just by asking questions and being like super curious? Well, I guess. I mean, I would imagine maybe there was something that he saw in my passion for it, right? That kind of pulled him in that direction. Well, I love that because, you know, I think, and this is a conversation I've had with other entrepreneurs, but, you know, we talk about the value of college education, the value that our society puts on it, the expense, the crazy amounts of debt. Sure. And I believe that for some it's fantastic. For others, I don't know. Yeah. But I love what you're saying because you're saying just pure passion and curiosity. Yeah. Because that's probably what he saw, you know, wow, this kid's more interested than, you know. So I think there's something there, you know, with just being curious about something and finding your way into things too. Yeah. You know, it's like sometimes it's about how you go about things, not so much the degrees of things you have. I don't know if that makes sense. No, it does completely. And I guess, you know, if you were to look at your own business and if you saw a young kid who came to you and said, Ete, I want to know more about what you
Yeah.
do, right?
I would
Show me, right?
Yeah, I'd take them under my wing, and yeah.
You'd love that,
Yeah.
because somebody has passion for what
I
you
think
do.
that, so
Yeah.
anyone who's listening, if you really want to have some success, there might be a route just through that.
Sure.
Find someone in the area that you're really fascinated in, just bug the heck out of them like Howard did. So you get in there, he gives you a job, and within 6 years, you're the youngest, but you're rising up through the company.
Yeah.
And you make this decision somewhere around there, I've got to go out on my own.
Yeah.
Walk me through that time frame. What sparked that decision, and what was the headspace going into it? Some of the fears, some of the excitements.
Yeah, that probably in my career was one of the toughest things I'd ever gone through, right?
Okay.
But it's something that I would not change even by one measure. So at that point, the firm was successful. And then we had an issue in the economy that really sent it into a tailspin, right? We had
Just
things
that
like,
firm or everybody?
Well, we had 9/11, we had the technology bubble, we had all that stuff
yeah.
going on. And at the same time, my partner had a congenital heart issue that put him into the hospital for a period of time. So, and at that point, I ended up exploring and found my faith, and those things kind of collided. So this guy coming back, the faith that I had committed to, the faith that he had, he felt were at odds with each other. So actually, I was sitting in his office one day, and he said, it's kind of a weird story, and it may be more of a gloomy sort of
No, I like gloomy
perspective than you might want for a podcast. But
Nope.
He said, Howard, you got two choices. You can repent and come back to the church that he and I were going to,
Wow.
and we can continue the partnership, or you can get an attorney, I can get an attorney, and we'll see whose God wins, was his moment. So I actually, gave up the ownership in that partnership.
You did.
And moved on. Yeah.
So okay, we got to dig into that, man. I got
Sure,
to unpack
sure.
that. That's crazy.
Yeah.
So make sure I got it right. You guys were of the same faith at the time, or the same church.
Correct.
Even. And then he's like, this isn't going to work.
Mm-hmm.
He's saying you need to repent. So meaning whatever your new thing is, that's wrong.
Yeah.
And you're like, and he gave you an ultimatum.
And in his own way, he felt all the stuff that was happening in the economy was God punishing him in the business for me going in this different direction, right?
Wow.
Pretty strange stuff,
yeah.
but that's exactly
But that's
what
how it
happened.
was.
Yeah. So I left, and
Was that a big, like, I mean, how old are you at this point, roughly?
I was 26.
Okay, you're 26 years old, so...
So the way that our business worked is that money that I got as an accident settlement, I gave him to buy into the firm. So I was a partner in the firm based on the money. So everything that I had received from that accident settlement was now
business.
in this business.
And now he's giving you this ultimatum because of this new faith that you found.
Right.
Wow, that's
Yeah.
There's something there, but
Yeah.
anyway.
So he comes to me with that ultimatum. After thinking long and hard about it, praying about it.
Yeah, like, is this a matter of days? I just can't imagine a 26-year-old in this situation. Everything's on the line.
Yeah.
I can't imagine the head just spinning. Like,
Sure.
How did you walk through this decision? Can you remember back? Or
Yeah, I can. And obviously it wasn't an easy decision, right?
Yeah.
Because it was everything that I had wrapped up into that business. But just something about it felt like I was making the right decision. Right, I had to make a commitment to that, to my wife, to the faith, and felt like continuing the way that we were wasn't the right thing for me.
Wow.
Going forward, so I respect this guy who's at this point passed on, right? So I don't want to say anything negative about him either, because he really gave me the gateway into
took you under his wing.
Sure,
yeah. So you've got all this knowledge.
He was like a father figure to me, so he was a guy that I loved.
Which makes it even harder though when he comes to you.
Sure.
With that ultimatum.
Yeah. So he hit me with that ultimatum, and I had to make a decision whether to stay or go, and I made the decision to go. Now, it's interesting, in the way that the world comes full circle. At that point, our firm probably had 21 other advisors that we were working with.
Wow, that's big.
Yeah, right. And a couple of them had heard that I was leaving, and then asked if they could come with me. So I ended up moving on.
Okay.
Some of those advisors.
So what? So clearly there was something that they were seeing in you, because I'm just picturing myself. I've got two options. How old was this guy at the time, roughly?
I would guess maybe he was in his late 40s, early 50s.
Okay, so you've got a guy who's in late 40s. So anyway, more experience than a 26-year-old. Got 20-something advisors.
Yeah.
Gives you this ultimatum. You decide to walk, but people follow the 26-year-old?
Yeah, I guess, at this point after the fact, you can have a mentor that you'll learn a lot from.
Sure.
You can also have a mentor that when you step back, maybe a lot of what you learned was also what not to do, right?
Yeah.
And so this guy had a good mixture of both of those things.
Gotcha.
What to do and what not to do, right?
So you're 26, you're like, okay, I'm going to go here. How many people decided at that time to come? Just one or two others?
So actually it was the majority of them. So maybe 3 or 4 stayed behind, and the majority of them came over with me. So in our business, I was running sort of the advisory team that we had, the relationships with those advisors. So I had built concrete relationships with them over the years. And I think everyone else had recognized some of the same faults that I had in this other advisor that I had moved away from.
So let me ask you this. When you left, because you said, all your money was tied up in this business, 2 questions.
Not only that, I tell you, so the income that I was earning
was from him.
That actually went into the firm pot, right?
Oh.
And he had control over that checkbook as well.
So are you leaving with nothing?
I am.
Everything.
Literally left with zero. Yeah, I left with absolutely nothing. Yeah. So I decided to move on, and it literally was a fundamental moment in my practice.
Sure.
Because it helped me be the professional that I needed to be without riding his coattails, right? So everything I did at this point was my process, my brand, my responsibility. So I had to start from square one.
So you had to put on your big boy shoes. Now you had no college experience in business. You didn't go to Harvard or MIT. Okay.
I started doing this, luckily right out of high school.
So you knew you got in the 6 years. Obviously, you were moved up, so you got good at the industry.
Sure.
But that's just one part of running a business, right? Then there's a whole running a company.
Yeah.
Building a company. How hard was that? I mean, yeah.
Yeah, I mean it's still a learning process, right? And obviously, we're at a point where there's a rhythm that the business has and a success that it has that we're going to hope continues that way, right? But industries change, economies change. Obviously this whole COVID thing is a big change that we're all going through. So our business will always be evolving. I'll bring up something that's helped me along the way.
Sure.
I'm an avid reader. I literally try to read at least one book a month.
I
right?
read like crazy.
And I'm often even at a better pace than that. But one of the books that I often go back to is a book called The E-Myth.
Yeah, I talk about that book. Yeah. I recommend that book to many people.
And so what I got from that book personally is 2 things. One, the E-Myth, for those of the audience that may not know, the E is entrepreneur, right? So the gist of that book is that you can be great at a certain task. You can be an excellent technician in something.
Yep.
But that doesn't necessarily translate to the business behind it, right? So the business and the task are 2 separate things. So the E-Myth sort of gives you an outline of how to build a process within your business so that the business can sort of run itself so that you can work on the business rather than in the business, right?
100%.
So that was sort of bullet point 1 that I got from it. The other bullet point was, often when we're doing something in our industry, in our careers, in our business, we're always thinking, well, how do we get to that next level? And that's good to a point, right? Because you always want to be moving forward and working towards those goals. But the E-Myth sort of spins that around and it says, instead, let's look at your business when it's complete. Right? When your business is finished, Ate, what does it look like, right? What pieces are there when you've said, wow, this is exactly what I've dreamed of this business becoming, right? And then now that you know that picture, what that is, how can you build backwards from that point to where you are today, right? And so to me, that was just another one of those fundamental shifts in my practice.
That's huge. Yeah. Because, real quick, because you're right. No one ever thinks there's an end or there's a cap or there's somewhere we're going. It's just growth, go. You run till you die. We always get bigger. But when you put a cap or this is what it's supposed to look like, a picture, that changes everything.
Sure. Yeah, definitely. Yeah.
So you read those too, and you're just having this like aha moment.
Yeah. And again, it's, I think if you're not moving forward, if you're not learning, right, then you're either stalled out or you're moving backwards, right? So I always want to be learning. So there's always different aspects of the business that, I'm trying to get a greater grasp on, a greater knowledge, right? And when you're looking in the world of finance, taxes are important, estate planning is important. There are all these different nuances that even themselves as a body of knowledge, there are so many different trails that you can go down, right? So to think that you would ever know everything, you're probably kidding yourself, right?
Yeah.
So we're just increasing that knowledge bank as much as we can for as often as we can.
Yeah, and I love it, and I agree 100%. Like I spend more time learning and reading now at 37 than I did ever.
Sure.
And I also feel like I'm further from becoming an expert in anything.
Yeah, right. Because you can always learn more.
Yeah,
right?
you can always learn more. So do you remember when you branched out, you took off, you left, you started Plan One, you've got some people with you, so you got a team. Mm-hmm. Do you remember your first client?
I do.
And do you remember how you got the first client?
I do, yeah. So my first client was, going back, I wish I had a video of it, right? Because it was probably just the worst performance that anyone could ever give. And when you're doing something early on, at least I was, there was a certain amount of information that I wanted to make sure that I provided, right? And to make sure that I provided that information in a way that was concise and straightforward, I had rehearsed what I was going to say to deliver that knowledge. And the two potential clients that I sat in from across the table from was the one was a math teacher and the other was an English teacher.
Oh boy.
So here I am at 20 years old sitting across from two people that, I had graduated school just a year earlier. So I felt like I had the two biggest potential critics I could have at the table with me. Back in the day, as I was growing the business, a lot of what I was doing was in people's homes, rather than having an office where they could, we had an office, but it was just easier to build the business going to people's homes and make it convenient for them to meet with me. So we were sitting often at people's kitchen tables. Yeah. So I remember these clients very well, and it was a math teacher and an English teacher. Yeah. So
and you're sitting at their kitchen table,
but they became a client. Yeah. So they must have saw something in me too that worked out, and I'm grateful for them. So the way that I was trained early on was because we had this large firm with all of these advisors. Every so often we would have an advisor that left the firm, maybe they retired or something, and we had a box of orphan clients. They were clients that had different things with us, but no one was assigned to their account. So it was one of those sort of Staples kind of cardboard boxes filled with files. And this partner that I had originally said to me, Howard, here are the orphan clients. If you can get a client from this box, that's your client.
You keep them.
Right? And then I got 1 and 2 and 3 clients from it, maybe 4 and 5. And he came back to me and he said, Howard, if you get any more clients from this box, then let's split them. There'll be clients that we share 50-50. So I got a 7th and an 8th and a 9th and a 10th client. Came back to me and said, Howard, getting more clients, because they're the firm's clients, let's keep them the firm, and we'll make sure that you get paid for the relationships that you built. Right? So one of those things early on that now I'm looking back, I'm like, okay, I can see how, maybe a lot of what this guy was doing was maybe more in his interest than my own.
So, because getting clients in most businesses is the hard part.
Sure.
Many people can build a business, throw social ads, et cetera, great ideas, but they can't get clients. They can't sell.
Yeah.
Why were you having success at such a young age and continued for 25 years? What has been your secret to getting clients? Like, how are you you're not marketing, you're not advertising?
Yeah.
What are you doing? Because we need to know.
I tell you, I feel like I have a bank of knowledge and expertise, right? But what we are in is a relationship business, right?
Yeah.
So a lot of what we're doing is managing emotions and expectations, right? But we're just treating people the way we would want to be treated, right? So I'm drinking the Kool-Aid as well. So any advice that I would give anybody else it's the same advice that I would give my own self, right? So I really believe in the aspect of being a fiduciary. It's the driver of my practice, right? And so for me, a fiduciary means that I have not just a moral obligation, but also a legal obligation to tell you what's in your best interest.
Gotcha.
Now I realize that if you're coming to me, you may be coming with your life savings.
Yeah.
And you're going to make the decisions that you're comfortable making. But I do have the same obligation as your doctor or your attorney or your CPA, and that I have to tell it like it is.
And you
right?
take that very seriously.
100%.
Gotcha.
So that means that if there's good news, I'm going to tell you that there's good news. But it also means that if I'm looking at your situation and there's not good news, I just want to make sure it's okay to bring that up to you, right?
Sure.
If there's something you should be, there's a red flag in your planning. And so it's those people that we can help, that we help them see maybe that direction that they're on that's not taking them to the best place.
Right.
And then we give them that bank of knowledge to show them hopefully how to get back on track.
So, 1,200 clients, it tells me two things. One, we've talked about, your exceptional customer service. That's important to you. But secondly, you've got to be getting results, because you are, and correct me if I'm wrong, I don't fully understand the world of finances and all that, but your client comes to you. I guess maybe if I could walk through this experience, that would be helpful to me. So I show up to you and I say, hey, I've got, $100,000 in my bank account. I'd like to do something great with it. I'd like to make more.
Sure.
And then you've said earlier that you'll meet with them. But you also said when they leave, you'll set up another appointment.
Yeah.
So it's an ongoing relationship. So can you walk me a little bit through that experience, especially for anyone who's listening who may be like me going, hey, I need to get planning a little smarter than I am.
Yeah. And there's a process that we follow, right? And it makes sure that we have all the information that we need to make sure that the advice that we're given is the right advice.
Sure.
So the first meeting for me is just to get to know someone, right? I honestly want to know everything I can about them. I want to know what planning they've done to this point. I want to know about their family. I want to understand what legacy they'd like to leave behind. I want to know technical aspects about things like their specific tax situation. I'll often connect with their CPA or their attorney and understand what the dynamics of their family is, what ultimately they want their future to look like, whether it's their retirement or their kids' college. And then what I'll do is I'll step back and my team and I will build out an analysis looking at what ultimately they're describing their goals being and where they are today and what gap there is between those two things.
So you'll just basically take all that data and you'll kind of build a custom tailored path for them?
That's it. A specific, absolutely. That's a good way to say it. So we build a tailored path for them to reach those goals that they have. And then when someone makes a commitment to be a client of ours, we see them on a regular basis, right? So
it's kind of a maintenance, tune-up, check-in.
And that's sort of the business aspect of it, right? But one of the ways that we've been able to sort of build our business is by building those strong relationships with our clients. So we're not just seeing them at those meetings. We're doing things outside of those normally scheduled meetings to connect with them as well.
Gotcha.
We throw a couple of big events throughout the year where they're just for our customers.
I remember years ago you used to do that.
Yeah. So
tell us a little bit about, because we call that sometimes nurturing the client.
Sure.
What are some of the events you've thrown?
We like to do, and again, COVID has changed a lot of this, but typically we'll do whatever big summer blockbuster family-oriented movie is out. We'll rent out the entire movie theater and invite all of our clients. And they invite their kids and grandkids. So if you were a client of mine today and said, hey, I want to bring 8 or 9 of my family members, you got them. They're
cool.
Tickets. So we typically Saturday morning open up the movie theater just for our clients, see the movie. It's just a great way for us to bring my wife and my family to meet my clients' families and just do something that's social. So we typically do that at whatever sort of holiday movie time, that may be early January, and then we do it during the summer blockbuster. I think last time we did it, we did one of the Star Wars films, and I think we had maybe 170 people show up for it.
That's cool.
So it was a great event. We also do a couple of educational events throughout the year where we're not inviting people that we don't know. They're just our clients who are coming.
You said education. How much of your time with each client is spent educating.
Oh, yeah. To me, a good financial planner has to have the heart of a teacher, right? So if people aren't leaving my office knowing something that they didn't know before they came in, then I haven't done my job, right?
Gotcha.
So much of it is, yeah.
So I got to ask this, especially because the phrase you just used. Dave Ramsey?
Dave Ramsey's, I'm a big fan of his.
Okay,
yeah.
you are a fan.
Yeah. To me, Dave gives a very concise process on how to, there are those foundational steps that he has people go through.
Baby steps.
The baby steps, right? The 7 of them.
Yeah.
To get people to a point where they don't have to worry about some of the stuff that people that aren't doing those things would have to worry about, right? So yeah, I'm a big fan of Dave's. Let's face it, there's 2 ways to build your wealth. Way 1 is by growing your assets. Way 2 is by getting yourself out of debt. And to not have a mortgage payment, to not have a credit card payment, to have the ability financially to pay for the things that you need out of your own pocket rather than having to borrow money to do that. There's a great feeling. There's a great weight off your shoulders if you're able to do that.
Oh, I got 2 questions here. One is when you have clients that come in and sit down, and let's say they have 100,000. I'm just going to make something 100,000 in savings they'd like to invest, and let's say they have some debt. Is one of your goals to help them, like part of your path, to help them get the house paid off and then do this? Like, do you go that in depth?
Absolutely. I mean, let's just say that you have a mess of credit card debt, right? And we all know that credit cards interest rates today are maybe 19, 24, maybe 29%, right? So if you're holding a balance on that credit card that costs you 24% a year, and you have money somewhere else that's earning 0, or maybe in a money market account earning 1%, well, that you're losing money there, right? Because you're paying 24% on one hand and only earning a small fraction of that somewhere else. So it may, in your situation, be a better idea to get rid of some of that credit card debt rather than holding that money in your mattress, which is earning nothing.
Sure.
Yeah.
And what about, are you a fan of taking money, borrowed money, and making other people's money? Because I know Dave is not, but I know for every Dave Ramsey, there's 1,000 other financial guys that will say this is the way to success.
Yeah. I've never found that to be successful, so I wouldn't recommend that to my clients, or nor would I do that myself.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Interesting.
But again, I'm sure there's a bunch of other people that may disagree with me on that, but in 25 years, I've never found that to be a successful process.
Awesome. So cool. So 25 years in, and you've been building it and growing a family. Obviously, 6 kids along the way. Mm-hmm. So you've learned a lot, and I'm wondering. Has there been any times during that process where you're like, this is awful? Like, has there been just a dark, hard time that you didn't know on the business side if you could push through it?
Yeah.
As an entrepreneur.
It's funny when we had talked about doing this podcast, I had a conversation with my wife, and I was, Tate's probably going to ask me about the struggles that we've had in our business.
Yeah.
And I couldn't think of any struggles at Tate that weren't preceded or that weren't followed by just a tremendous amount of growth, right? So there were always times that I was pushed into a point in my career where I had to push forward in a way that I hadn't to before. We talked about the transition of our firm, from the tiny office that we had to the building that we just bought, and I can remember the first time I was sharing office space with another CPA. And, we had made a decision to move out of that building. And I wasn't paying rent. I was actually working together with him on his clients.
Gotcha.
So the revenue that we were generating was enough for him to give me the office space that we were occupying. And, I was growing to the point, but wasn't able to do some of the things that I wanted to do in our practice because we needed a bigger space to do that, a more professional space. Sure. So we ended up starting to rent a building, a nice office space with another CPA. And so that was a big step for my career because there was money that I was going to have to kick out every month that I wasn't sure that I
a little more risk
could
too.
afford. Right.
Yeah.
And then we got to the point where we outgrew that. But first, what happened? Let me step back a little bit. That CPA was, I think, transitioning back to the home office that they had. So while we were sharing rent, we now were going to have to cover the entire rent for both of the spaces that we each occupied. Another big hurdle financially.
Yeah.
And then, buying the building. So there are all those things where some of those decisions I'd made, some of those decisions were made for me where people were moving on. And if I wanted to stay where I was going to have to pay for what they were responsible paying for. The other big commitment I think that we made in our practice that was a financial hurdle, I believe it's so important to have a mentor, right?
Yeah.
So if you don't have someone that's looking at your business who has done it before successfully and is able to give you some sort of direction on how you can build upon what you have, whether it's a coach or a mentor, then I would recommend that you find that person.
I love it.
So I remember when I was younger in the business, I was sitting in a team meeting. We had, this national meeting where our firm had brought, a bunch of people together, and they brought the top 25 advisors in the nation up on the stage to recognize them for what they'd done. And I think at 12 or maybe 18 of them were part of the same industry coaching program.
Oh, so you started seeing that pattern. You're like, whoa,
yeah.
Get me in.
And I decided that day that whatever it cost, I was going to be part of that coaching program. And I still am today.
I love that. And I think you might be one of the first. I don't know if I've had this conversation, but on mentorship.
Yeah.
But it sounds like it's helped you a ton, and you're recommending it to everybody.
Definitely. Yeah. And so obviously we see the growth in the bank of knowledge that we have with the service that we're able to give our clients. Certainly from a revenue standpoint, the growth of our firm is just multiples and multiples of what it was before we started that coaching program.
So to the young entrepreneur who is going, I don't know if I can afford that expense of a mentor, you would say?
I didn't know if I could afford it either. But I realized that if I was going to be on that stage like those other 25 advisors, that was something I had to make happen.
Wow.
Right.
So how long have you had a mentor or a coach?
So that was back in 2009 is when I started the coaching program. So I'm still doing that same coaching with the same team that I'd started with back in 2009. So it's, I guess, what is it, 11 years in. Right
and clearly you're getting results. Otherwise you wouldn't be spending that time and money for it.
Sure, yeah.
What has been I know you've had a chance to do some really fun and exciting things. Travel some cool places because of the business. Some of the benefits of getting of success. What has been to some of the highlights, or just something where you're like, yeah, this is great, man. This pushed more than I ever pictured as a 17-year-old musician.
Yeah, I mean, I feel literally, I tell you, every day like I have to pinch myself, right? So even just being able to be out here, visiting with you, old friend. And still having my business be able to be running while I'm doing that.
Yeah.
Wow, what a great reward that is. My wife and I are staying in a very nice place, because we're able to take time away from the office because our team has things locked down, right? They're really still continuing to do what we do for folks, even though I'm out of the office. That, like I talked about before, having the time to be home with my family on Friday, Saturday, and Sunday.
Yeah.
Without having to worry about, doing the day-to-day is just a great reward. I mean, obviously, we've traveled the world. We've been to nice places. We were able to do some great things. But just having that freedom to be able to have a social schedule, time with my family while things are running,
awesome.
I wouldn't give that up for anything.
And you've said this 50 times already, but it seems so crucial to this whole successful picture that we have here is the team.
Yeah.
I mean, you've mentioned how great your team is and how, you couldn't do it without them. And I'm just emphasizing that for those that are listening. You have to build a great team. The people are everything.
They are, yeah. And if you're lucky enough, if you're blessed enough to find people that buy in, that are committed to your clients in the way that you are, wow, just pay them as much as you can because they are such an important part of your business. You know, and the last thing you want to do is to leave someone that buys in the way that you buy in. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, you've been doing this for a while, 25 plus years, you know, basically supporting yourself and your family. That's pretty awesome. Thanks, you know, man. Businesses don't, that's a long run.
Yeah.
And I know you've got a lot ahead of you. So I guess my first question is, well, we'll start here. Can you give us a piece of advice? You've given us plenty of advice, but for a young entrepreneur maybe listening to the show right now, what would you say to them?
Wow. You know, so whatever you do, I would just start by doing it the right way, right? I mean, that service attitude, that willingness to do for someone the thing that you would want done for you is just going to go so far. You know, so from the standpoint of an attitude of the business, that service mindset, that giving your all to someone in the way that you would want someone to give their all to you, I think it is sort of rule one, right? Okay. Number two, whatever it is that you're doing, find a coach, find somebody that's done it before you in a successful way that you would pattern your career after, and just do what they tell you to do, right? And three, find the way to build your business in a way that works for you long term. We can all work 80, 90 hours a week and just give our lives to our business and not have time for anything else. But I think eventually there's gonna be some wear and tear there that you're not gonna be able to get away from, right? So find. I don't like the word balance, because it's this sort of idea of multitasking and balance. It's not really a true thing, because you really can't do two things at the same time well. But instead, focus the time on your career, your business, your practice, your whatever it is that you're building, 100%, right? But also, if there's some other passion in your life, whether it's your music or your family, find time to give that same 100% effort. Right? If that makes any sense.
No, that makes a ton of sense.
Yeah.
That's perfect. What's next for Plan 1? What's next for Howard? You've been building, and you've got it. Like you said earlier, you got a well-oiled machine. You got a great customer-focused team, a great product. What do you want to do?
I tell you,
Take Thursdays off now?
No. My best years are ahead of me. I still feel like I have so much more to offer, right? I still.
So you're still excited about all this?
100%.
All right. So
100%. Yeah.
Tell me what you want, where you want to take this, but also tell me, what are you even excited? Like, what excites you? How do you stay excited about something for 25 years?
So, I want to build a firm that is so important that if we disappeared tomorrow, that it would leave a gaping hole, right? That would be so hard to fill.
Yeah.
So I just want to be the go-to planner for, people, man. I just want to help people get to where they want to be in the future. I want to, and my best years are ahead of me, definitely. I see myself doing this for decades, right? So no desire to stop or retire or to move on. I love what I do and want to continue to do it.
But what are you excited about, right? Like, how are you still excited? How have you maintained that enthusiasm? Because people get burnt out. Obviously, you've built a good team, and I get that. That's taken so much off. But you're not burnt out, man.
My typical day, Ate, is maybe somewhere between 8 to 10 appointments, right?
Yeah.
Usually every hour on the hour. So I'm meeting with people all day. People that have made the commitment and have a confidence and a level of trust in me, right?
Yeah.
So to talk to those people that appreciate what we do, that see value in what we offer, that trust us with their life savings, man, to have constant conversations with those people all day long, I could do that forever.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
That's awesome. And I guess it also stems back to just, it's got to be something. Clearly you love it.
Yeah, definitely.
At the core of all this, you love the financial side, but you also love the service, helping people side.
Definitely. Yeah, and you have to. If there was someone on our team that didn't love it in that way, they wouldn't stay part of our team, right?
Yeah.
So I think one of the reasons our team is as solid as it is because I think everybody has that service mindset.
So you want to just keep going. You want to keep doing
definitely.
this. The kids
Absolutely.
You've got one in college now, maybe two?
I got one in college, one on her own.
One on her own.
So our oldest daughter is living in the city. She's and our oldest son is just starting college this year.
And then you've got even as young as a four-year-old?
So we have our oldest daughter is 23. Our oldest son is 17. Then we have a 14-year-old, a 12-year-old, a 4-year-old, and a 2-year-old.
So on the high, you got a 23, and on the low, a 2.
Yeah.
I thought I was impressive. I have a 2-year-old and a 10-year-old, but
you got a good start, man. Keep going.
I think I'm done, man. Maybe we should be doing. Maybe this should be a show about parental advice.
Right.
Man, I'm still sleep training a 2-year-old. Man,
Sure.
We're not even sleep. I don't know.
Yeah, and obviously, talking about teams. While my wife is not a team member, she's doing the heavy lifting at home.
Yeah.
Right? She's just phenomenal in that way, and wouldn't wish for anybody else to be my partner. She's just doing a fantastic job with the kids while I'm at the office when I am.
Yeah, she's so dialed in. I feel like she's a strong woman.
She is.
I
Yeah.
think that's
and a huge part of what we do, right? Even though she may not be in the office,
Yeah.
she's another sounding board and mentor and a decision maker in the business, and just has an important role, even though it may not be wearing a suit every day that she.
And I was just thinking about that the other day. I was thinking about some, because we're on season 2 now. I was thinking about some ways to expand the show dimensionally. And I was actually considering, because as I talk to people, whether it's men or women, they talk about their wives or their husbands. Also often I've noticed, like the entrepreneurs or the creators, the musicians, people see us succeed.
Yeah.
And so we kind of get some praise. The world gives us it. But then you've got the spouse at home who is doing all the really important stuff.
Sure.
The kids, the house, and like you said, even a sounding board and helping us not lose our sanity.
Yeah.
And I almost thought, man, it'd be cool to start interviewing the spouses, because there's such a key part. I'm glad you brought that up, because I was just thinking about that last night, in what we do.
Yeah. Right.
You couldn't, without Michelle, you would not, I don't think you'd be where you are.
Right. 100%. I would agree with that. And she's not getting a lot of that credit that's due, right?
They don't.
Yeah. She's not getting the reward. She's not getting the accolades that I might be getting, but she's definitely a big part of it.
That's awesome. So my last question, what are some of the things that you are doing for fun? What do you love to do with your spare time besides building the company and helping people?
Obviously, I mean, my number one thing is just being a dad, right? So I love my kids, and they're my world. Hobbies, I love to play the guitar. I love to read. We travel a ton. Tennis, so we just try to do a little bit of everything. Try things new, right? So whether it's being out here and hiking or kayaking, we just want to explore, man. We just want to have new experiences. We just want to be out in the world and just having a good time.
Just enjoying it.
Yeah.
And you can, because you've built this great company. And that's one of the coolest, there's the freedom that this has offered you and your family is really spectacular. And I think that's the fun part of being an entrepreneur. It comes with stress and weight like nothing else. But man, when you win big.
Yeah, yeah. And we love it. Like I said, I pinch myself every day. As we get another day to do what we love. It's just a dream life, man.
Awesome. So you guys, thanks for tuning in. I love some of the things that we've discussed today. I love the story of where he was given this ultimatum by his partner and he has to walk away from everything. That's a crazy story. But I love that, and we didn't talk too much about your faith, but I love that you just found something and you just knew inside it was right for you.
Yeah.
And you were willing to follow that.
Yeah.
And it's interesting because, like he was saying, your faith is bringing the cursings on our business, but yet when you look at it, you followed what seems right to you, and you've done well, and you've been blessed.
Thanks, Ite.
I think that's cool, and I love the fact that you read so much, and I'm the same way. The E-Myth, there was an E-Myth Revisited that came out years later.
Read those.
Great books. I listen to Dave Ramsey's financial podcast every day.
Yeah.
I don't miss an episode. I can't say I practice everything because I'm a dummy, but I do most of it. I love those baby steps, man. I walk through those steps. But anyway, just some great lessons, man. I appreciate you coming in, spending some time on your vacation here in Park City. So thank you, Howard.
Thank you, Ite. I love this. It was a great opportunity, man.
Awesome,
Thanks for having me on.
Awesome. And thank you guys for tuning in. Again, Howard Mattson with Plan 1. And we will see you on the next episode of The Company Next Door.